Welcome to Not So Silent. We'll say what you can't. We think we're right, but I wouldn't bet on it until we talk about Chris's gambling corner. So on today's show, we got a ton of stuff. We haven't talked since middle of last week. I apologize for the internet connection last week. I think we got that all figured out here in our new studios in Nashville, if you will. We have a ton of stuff on today's show. We're going to talk a lot about the debate coming up in 2 days here in Nashville. The past town halls that just happened. And boy, Hunter Biden, he just can't stay out of the news, which is fantastic for us. We have a new segment called 30 Seconds of Bliss. We're going to have a little bit of fun with that one. We got some sports updates, Gambler's Corner update. Chris did ironically pretty well. A little bit serious or satire, some prognostication, and top five foods. So I'm Taylor Duncan. I'm going to welcome in Chris Hertigan in St. Louis. How you doing, Chris?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm grinding, but following the political theater and just kind of getting tired of all of it at this point. I just want to elect Trump and just watch liberals cry and move on with my day.
Yeah, right. All right, so make sure you connect with us on all your platforms. Find us on Twitter at Not So Silent Pod, Facebook, facebook.com/Not So Silent Pod, Instagram, of course, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and you can go to our website, notsosilent.com, and join our newsletter. It is free, but you will get spammed. No, you won't, but I'll email you directly. All right. So let's get on with it. So let's talk the debates. So right now, last week, the debate got canceled, as you know, because, well, we don't really know why, but it got canceled.
We know exactly why it was canceled. Yeah, we know that answer.
So it got canceled, and we replaced it with dueling town halls. And I was tweeting about it from our official Twitter site. I was tweeting during it. I mean, mind blown watching it. Absolutely mind blown. As we were texting back and forth, and Sean, who can't be here today, but we were texting the three of us back and forth. Holy cow. I was mind blown with the differences between the two. So I watched both, or I should say I flipped back and forth from both. And I thought the media bias, if you will, or the journalistic bias was absolutely front and center. I don't even think I really listened that dramatically to either Biden or Trump's responses to anything, but flipping back and forth between the two, it was appalling. So Chris, what's your quick reaction? Then I'll give you some of my thoughts on it.
Well, I received your reaction. I wasn't watching it live. I was doing something with the kids or whatever, and you were mentioning how angry it made you. And so when I started catching the highlights, it was, I mean, it's sort of, I guess, what you expect, but like not that much. Like, it's one thing to have like slanted questions, but the moderator for Trump was straight up like arguing about his Twitter feed, which, okay, he puts himself up for some of that, right? But there's another point where like, she's like, well, do you denounce white supremacy? He goes, yes, I denounce white supremacy. But why do you hesitate to do it? He's like, I just did it. And she's like, yes, but why do you hesitate in the past? He goes, listen, lady, I've been denouncing this every single day of my presidency. Like, what do you want? And it's like, are you kidding me, lady? Like, this is so obnoxious. We're not getting anywhere with this. And I guess the part that is unsettling is that it's not the same to both people. Like, I'd be okay if Trump had the softball questions that Biden had. I'd be okay if Biden had somebody as aggressively going after him, like on court packing, as opposed to just rolling over and dying when they say, well, you'll know my answer based on the outcome of the Amy Coney Barrett, vote. And they don't press on that. It's like, well, you'll have an answer before the election. Well, how about now? So the fact that it's not even for both bothers me. Again, I'm stuck with going, does it even matter at this point? Is it swaying anybody? And that it's still tough to say for me, although polls do seem to be tightening up a bit.
Yeah, I guess my reaction was the same. I didn't necessarily I hated watching Savannah Guthrie go after the president, but I can accept if that's what we're going to sign up for, then why didn't Biden have that same fact-checking, overly zealous reporter who's trying to make a name for herself or himself going after Biden. I just didn't get it. It was shocking to me. I also did not understand why Trump had 1 hour, Biden had 2. I didn't understand why Biden was given hours or minutes, many minutes to answer these questions as he rambled on and on and on, and was not interrupted even once by George Stephanopoulos, but who, by the way, was a Hillary Clinton, I believe, advisor. But yet Trump was interrupted in the middle of his answers constantly by Savannah Guthrie. I mean, again, it was just ridiculous. It really was shocking to me. And what I can't understand is why that didn't expose it more, and all it seemed to do was expose it to the conservatives, because it was frustrating. If I'm trying to figure out who to vote for, and I'm flipping back and forth, and I'm watching one and I'm watching the other, and they don't seem even close to being congruent. It was so frustrating to me. On top of it, a lot of people pointed to the ratings. What do you make of the ratings? I don't know if you've seen.
I did not hear the ratings. What were the ratings?
So the ratings, TV viewership, Biden got 14.1 million, Trump 13.5. However, if you want to spin it a different way, because that did not include web viewership, when you include web viewership, it's Trump 17.8 to Biden 16.8. Any thoughts on that?
It's close enough that it feels pretty negligible, but I do think that less and less people are getting their information from the actual news. I think most of them are getting them from Facebook or Breitbart or podcasts, or, I think people are turning more and more away from media. That's all that really tells me, because there's just no conservative voice. There's no reasonable voice in the mainstream media right now. But I don't know that says anything to me about
who's going to get elected.
Yeah, there's some other polls that are more interesting. I don't know if we want to get into that now, but
we'll get into that in just a second when we get to Prognostication Station. So some other things that are coming up around these debates, because the whole point is this debate should be bipartisan, right? It's supposed to be informing the public who to go to. The same day as those town halls, Steve Scully, who was supposed to be moderating that second debate, came out and apologized and said, I lied to you about my Twitter being hacked. If you guys remember, I know it seems like it was 7 years ago. It was really only a week ago. Steve Scully, the should-be moderator for that second debate, got busted stupidly sending a tweet out to the world, but it was directed at Scaramucci, who's a Trump critic, saying, should I respond to Trump, etc. Then he came out and said, my Twitter account was hacked. Then he apologized, and he has since been suspended by C-SPAN. That was the guy who was supposed to moderate the second debate. Not that surprised. The guy interned for Joe Biden and golfs with him. On top of it, 4 years ago, Donna Brazile, I don't know if you remember this, Donna Brazile of, I believe, the DNC, fed questions and apologized for doing it, but gave the questions, which were not supposed to be told to the candidates, gave the questions to Hillary Clinton prior to the debate. So you look at, and Chris Wallace, I actually, as much as I think, they say that Trump was debating with Chris Wallace, and Chris Wallace was harsh on Trump, but at least it was somewhat centered. He was the Fox guy, and my opinion was he's the Fox guy, so he had to come out and show I'm not going to be crazy Republican and just side with Trump. So he was a little bit harder on Trump than Biden, but it was relatively even. And now all of a sudden you see Steve Scully, who clearly is biased, is about to do the second one. Donna Brazile in the last one, these town halls, in this most recent one, the girl who's going to be moderating this one in Nashville also is a Democratic supporter. And I'm just going, at some point, when are we going to get rid of this media? It's shocking to me, the media, and everything seems to be going against the conservative. Feels like you are fighting this uphill battle. And I'm not trying to play conspiracy theorist because everyone's like, oh, you're so Alex Jones. No, I'm not trying to do that, but this is outrageous. At what point are we going to have some normal politics in this country?
Alex Jones is in better shape than you, so I don't think anyone's calling you Alex Jones.
Fair enough.
Last I checked, the ratings for CNN, ABC, NBC, they're not good. They don't make a lot of money. They don't pull a lot of viewers. Fox is destroying them. Podcasts are growing. So I think that is eroding. And I think the media's trust with the public is all but gone. So I think that is happening. Now, will they get destroyed and taken down? I don't know. What I find difficult is that conservatives tried to be balanced, but the left only wants to be the left. So there isn't really a balancing of the scales. It's like the left is on one end of the seesaw and conservatives try to, sit in the middle of it. And so the seesaw is always weighted to one side. And it's like, I don't really want to play the game of like going uber right on everything just because I want to balance the scales. But that means the scales are always tipped in their favor. So most conservatives that I listen to, they call balls and strikes on Trump. They call him out when he's good, call him out when he's bad. And I think that's important to do. Whereas the left never really does that ever. It's such a breath of fresh air when somebody finally does, like even like a Bill Maher, it's somebody that I vehemently disagree with, will say something like, okay, this is getting dangerous because this is crushing free speech. This is a bad idea. Some liberals are like waking up to that, not enough. But what's more concerning to me lately is the view of the right from the far left, and that is that the far right are all white supremacist neo-Nazis, which justifies everything that they do because they're preventing Hitler from coming to power. I think that's what they actually believe in their heart of hearts, which is why they can commit violence, which is why they can suppress free speech. And the irony is that is exactly what Hitler's regime started to do. That is fascism. Anyway, I kind of got off.
All right. So let's talk about the upcoming debate. So we got this upcoming debate this Thursday evening. Make sure everyone tunes in. It'll be the last debate. It's at 8 p.m. Central. It's hosted here in Nashville, less than 10 miles from where I'm at. And unfortunately, the debate commission is silencing us. We could not get media credentials for it. They refused to respond to any of our communication with them, either via phone or email. I only was able to get through to Belmont University, who's giving me B-roll and stuff like that, but cannot get in. So what we're going to do instead, we are going to do on Twitter during the debate, a live, we are going to be tweeting out live updates and stuff like that. So again, follow us on Twitter at Not So Silent Pod, at Not So Silent Pod, and you guys can be commenting back and forth with us. We will be on watching the debate. It'll be a hotly contested debate, and they have added the mute button. I don't know if you've heard that. They have added the mute button. And here are the topics for the debate: COVID, American families, race, climate, national security, and leadership. What say you about the debate topics?
Oh my God, slow down a second. So COVID, we've already been over this. There's nothing else to talk about here. My God. Okay, what's the next one?
American families. I have no idea what that really means.
No, I don't. But that could be good. Could be good for the right. What's the next one?
Race.
Go to the next one.
Climate.
Oh my God. Next.
National security.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And lastly, leadership.
I just want to puke. This is already a bad setup. First of all, some of these have been rehashed. Trump has an opportunity to talk to help explain better what critical race theory is during race. I don't know that he's done a good enough job describing what that is. And I don't think he's going to do a good job describing it. He's not articulate enough. Like Pence can do it, but I don't think Trump can do it.
I agree.
I put it this way. I think the mute button, believe it or not, might be a good thing. I think the more Biden talks, the better that is for Trump. So believe it or not, I think they're hurting Biden by muting Trump. So I'm kind of okay with that, even though I'm not okay with it.
I agree. So I'm just shocked. I'm in awe of these topics. I'm going, this is crazy. COVID. What are either of those guys going to do to improve the COVID outlook? Neither of them have explained it, and I don't think either of them can do anything. American families, leadership are such general ideas that,
these are all going to be gotcha questions for Trump. Like, why do you think tweeting this is good leadership? And it's like, Biden, tell us why you've been such a great leader in the past. I mean, that's what it's going to be. It's going to just, like.
I know.
Biden, we want to start off leadership by presenting you with an award for leadership, given to you by the media. Now tell us why you think you got that award.
I just find these to be, it's like, this is by no stretch of the imagination things that I think the American public is going to vote based on. Are you voting? I mean, I'm sure there is a small subsection of America that is voting on climate change, but we probably know where both of them stand. We need to know about tax cuts. We need to know about packing the courts, which is still the most important single concept.
Filibuster. Yeah. Things that are going to dramatically change the makeup of our entire judicial system. Yeah.
in our country, and yet we're gonna talk about leadership. It's remarkable. All right, so moving on, we got our boy Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is just crushing it. He is awesome. I cannot even imagine what the Biden dinner table looks like right now. This guy he has become just the greatest son in American history. He left his laptop at a Dell, and by all accounts, no one's saying anything, but I don't think America cares. I think the right cares. I think the right sees an amazing amount of corruption. And the left is trying to sweep this under the rug as hard as they possibly can, which I guess is their job. But even our national head of intelligence, Ratcliffe, came out and said so Adam Schiff, the Democrat from California, came out and said, oh, this is all just Russia. Russia's involved in this, which I think is hilarious after the Russian, interrogation we went through. But then our head of national intelligence said, no, we're not even investigating. There's no intelligence out there that says Russia is part of this. The Biden campaign has not denied that this was Hunter Biden's laptop or that these emails were real. And so he has emails that show that while Biden was the vice president, Hunter was off all around the world picking up money from all these different countries that Joe Biden was connected with, from Kazakhstan and the Ukraine and China. And Hunter was introducing them to his father, Joe, which is why they were giving him money. I think we all knew this. But now the emails are showing that Joe was involved and may have even been making some money off of it, which I think we all believe is probably the case. And yet, the day that this news story broke, guess what was completely not even on CNN's entire first page of their online CNN.com? Yep. Nothing about this.
Yeah. Hunter Biden is the kind of guy that I really wanted to be friends with in college. Had a lot of money that wasn't his and access to drugs, but never wanted to talk to him again outside of that. And he's like, dude, why wasn't I invited to your wedding, man? It's like, you're a drug addict deadbeat who lives off your daddy's money. At the very least, there appears to be corruption here. If Biden can be tied to having stock withheld for them or having shares withheld for him, that's criminal. That's a big deal, but that has not been proven yet. Again, I think that they have more evidence and they are strategically leaking it as we go. And I think it's going to get even worse. I think we're going to have hard evidence linking Biden to actually taking money.
So when do you think that'll happen? The same day that James Comey dropped his email, which somehow is shocking because that helped Trump, but yet he hates Trump. But, probably like 1 week before the election.
I would think, because we've got 2 weeks before the election, right? 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today.
I don't know what strategically is the best time to do it because Americans have such a short attention span. It's like you kind of want to have this ramp up thing and then have it.
The problem is so many people are voting early.
Yeah, but Democrats always vote early. That's not uncommon. I don't know that it's that much more than normal, but they always vote early. That's
These guys know better than we do. So I think it's remarkable. I think Hunter Biden is my favorite person right now. I would like, if you told me, hey, you get to go to dinner with one person who's currently alive, I think Hunter Biden might be the guy.
I want to bring him home to meet my parents. Whenever they're like, why aren't you doing something more with your life? I'm like, I could be Hunter. And they're like, oh, he's not that kid, So.
All right. So we're under our new section, 30 seconds of bliss. Whoops. 30 seconds of bliss. So Chris, you have no idea what this is. I have not prefaced you with that. All right. So you better be ready. You better be ready to spitball some good stuff. All right. So there are a lot of questions swirling around in your brain after you hear this. CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin reportedly busted masturbating on a Zoom call. They were preparing for their CNN coverage of election night. So they were on the Zoom call with a bunch of people at CNN and how would it go down? And what if it was this winner and this winner? And they were preparing for it. So they're on the Zoom call, and Jeffrey Toobin, it has been reported by Vice, was masturbating on the call. All right. I'm going to give you 30 seconds and you get to say or ask anything that you want. So, whoops. Let's starting right now.
Have they started nicknaming him Jeremy Tuggin instead of Tubin? What was he tugging to? Do we know the answer to that? How bad does your porn addiction have to be that you can't wait till after the Zoom call and to masturbate? My guess is it's getting into some freaky stuff. There are definitely multiples, and I'm going to guess at least one animal involved. The word zoo is definitely in one of the headlines. His junk is probably redder than my 6-year-old daughter who can't stop humping things, and we have to put cream on it. So my guess is he's got to aid himself as well.
Stop. All right. So I have a few questions. First off, a statement. I'm pretty jacked about this.
You're in preparation, though.
I know. I prepared. So is he a legal analyst or a beat reporter?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, you got to be pulling my chain.
No.
All right.
Okay.
Remember in South America, there was a city councilman who on a city council debate over Zoom was having sex. Why is America so single-minded? I don't know. I like South America better.
On the next episode.
Yeah. What would be the headline if it was Laura Ingraham or Rachel Maddow? Like, what if it was a female? I'm just saying.
Well, hold on. You said, what if it's a female, but you just named a man and a woman there. So
I was also curious, what was he tugging to? I'm also curious, did he finish his thoughts? And was it big or small?
Did he mute himself at least? Or was
no? Well, he thought his video was muted. He has apologized. It came out that he had exposed himself, and then and then later it switched from exposing himself to he was busted masturbating.
You have to get fired for that, right? You can't. There's no apology that keeps your job. You have to lose your job.
Oh, come on! In the Liberal Party, he's gonna have something. The only problem is he's a white male, so that he can't go any of those routes. But he could say that he was like really depressed, and this was his way of getting his
well, he's riddled with white guilt, and he was thinking all about reparations and how to so he's, I don't know, probably masturbating to what's that movie with Oprah, like that she got an Academy Award for? It's probably like what is it called? Grapes, The Color Red or something? I don't know, what is it?
The Color Purple.
Color Purple.
All right. All right.
Well, The Color Red was just the color of his junk. My bad. Or eventually it will go purple if he doesn't stop.
All right.
We'll make a Saw movie out of it. We'll have to amputate.
All right. On to sports news. All right. So we got some sports news. Power rankings in the NFL have been updated and changed. The Packers were number 1. They have dropped. Chiefs are now number 1. What are your thoughts on the new power rankings with the Chiefs being number 1?
I think that, oh gosh, how good are the Raiders? I mean, it's the NFL. Good teams are going to lose a game and bad teams are going to win a game. It's like when the Dolphins were terrible and they still are not that great, would beat the Patriots, and the Patriots were unbelievable. So I think just passing the eye test, I think Kansas City should be number 1. They just have more weapons. Like Green Bay still has injuries right now. They don't have a lot of wide receivers healthy. So yeah, I think right now the Chiefs, I'm good with that.
So you have no problem with the Titans putting up 42 points and they're 5-0, or the Seahawks who are 5-0 and I believe had a bye, or the Steelers whose defense looks unstoppable and they are 5-0.
I thought you were asking me what I thought about the Packers versus the Chiefs, but you mean ahead of those 5-0 teams.
Correct. Yeah, the Packers clearly needed to drop, and they dropped significantly down to number 7.
I think I like the Titans over Green Bay. I still like the Chiefs number 1.
Okay.
I think you just know the talent that's there, and you give them the pedigree from last year.
So the Bears still not getting respect. They moved up to number 11, but they are still behind a 2-loss Saints team, a 2-loss Rams team, a 2-loss Bills team, and they are still behind the Green Bay Packers, who just got blown out by the Buccaneers, who the Bears beat the week before, and they're behind the Buccaneers,
who are a 2-loss team. Yeah.
who are a 2-loss team.
What we do is not pretty. It's not, but we win games. I think as the offense starts to click and show a little bit more, I think we'll probably get more respect. I think we're number 12 in the rankings, so we're
11.
We're not 11. So that's not awful. Like, I hate to say it even as a Bears fan. Like, I feel like out of a 10-game stretch playing against the Bucs, we're losing, 7 out of 10 of those.
All right. They look pretty good against.
Who do we play next? Who do we play next week?
The Bears. The Bears this week play the Rams, I believe, and it's Monday night.
I think the Rams are ranked ahead of us, aren't they?
Correct. So, but the Bears the Bears schedule gets tough here coming up. We have Rams, Saints, Titans coming up. So,
yeah, that's gonna really, separate the men from the boys there. So
clearly. All right. So let's see. The NCAA football is off and running. Big Ten football is going to begin this coming week, which is exciting. The big news to me about college football is the amount of upsets. Feels like every week there is massive amounts of upsets. The 5th-ranked team in the country dropping to an unranked team constantly. Yeah. And there's only 2 teams that seem to really look good. It's Clemson and Bama, but you have Oklahoma's losing, Texas getting blown out, and so on. Why do you think so many upsets are happening in college football this early in the year?
I would like to imagine a lack of preparation, just people being a bit soft, but I don't know. That's a little strange. And Notre Dame is 4-0 still, by the way.
They haven't beaten much, and they only put up 12 points this weekend. I mean, they don't look amazing.
Ohio State's still number 5 and hasn't played a game. Jeez.
I think some of it is these teams didn't have your typical 4 weeks to play the Troys of the world or the Alcorn or Appalachian State or whatever to really kind of get gelling before they started playing Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State versus Kansas State or whatever it is. And they just got thrown right into it. And I think you're seeing that the importance of preparation and so on. And it's causing a big sway. Plus you're seeing a much less importance to home field advantage. I think that's in a lot of sports, you're seeing that. So, all right. Lastly, in sports, unless you have something, the WNBA is in sports. How exciting is that? WNBA Star says women's basketball isn't popular because players are predominantly black, unlike cute and white and straight soccer players.
I saw this article, and my first thought as to why is women's soccer more popular than the WNBA is because, well, the Women's World Cup was won. And we're talking the WNBA, which is just within the continental United States. So I don't watch women's soccer when it's like, I don't know, a state versus another state. I don't care what they look like. I watch, well, at least I used to until they got, super hardcore liberal and disrespected our flag. But that's a world stage. Like the WNBA is not on a world stage. And I imagine, if and when they are, like do we have women's basketball in the Olympics? I think we do, right?
You're right. I mean, isn't this, doesn't this explain why it's not as popular? We don't even know. I don't know. It's the WNBA. It's been around for what, 20 years?
The World Cup's kind of a big deal and a lot of people watch it, and it's a internationally, a lot of people love that sport, so it gets more press. But no, like I don't care about watching the Seattle Storm play the Las Vegas, short hairs or whatever. I don't know what they're called.
All right. I thought it was an amazing headline.
It's just such a victim thing. It's like, and like, I hate when they say like, we're not just here to entertain you. We're here to take a political stance. It's like, no. You're an entertainer. That is actually your entire job, is to entertain us. There's nothing else you're supposed to do. So if you want to get political or do something dumb, and what might get them more attention is if they all stood for the national anthem and did some patriotic stuff. That probably gets them some more attention, because I think Americans are dying for somebody to go hardcore patriot instead of like hardcore leftist. That's a niche they can fill.
The UFC has, by and large, has gone hardcore, right and patriotic. I don't know if it's increased ratings or not. I would guess it hasn't, but I don't know that.
I think there's a couple outspoken people. I don't know that it's like universal, but there's definitely a few outspoken fighters. That's for sure.
All right, Chris, Gambler's Corner. How did we do? We make money.
Okay, so last week we had 4 bets each. We had the Packers Bucks, and I took the Bucks. You and Sean took the Packers. I crushed you on that one. We had Falcons Vikings. I took the Falcons and the points. You guys took the Vikings. You guys got crushed on that one. We had the Cardinals Cowboys. Cards giving up 2.5. Taylor, you and I won that one. Sean got skunked there. And we had the over-under for LA San Francisco at 50.5. You and I had the under. Sean had the over. So Sean went 0 for 4 and really 0 for 5 because he missed the parlay, which means Sean is currently 2 for 10 on picks. Taylor, you are currently 4 of 10 on picks, but that's including the parlay. You're actually technically 50-50. You're on your actual picks, right? Yep. Sean's technically 3 of 8. So you're not doing too bad. I am currently 6 of 8 on picks with a positive bank account of $200. Sean is -60. You are -20.
All right. So what is this Thursday night game? What is this week's Thursday night football game?
I'm not actually sure. I do my gambling bets later today, so I'll have those wagers out for a later podcast this week.
All right. So I'll tweet out what our gambling picks are for Thursday because our next show is going to be this Friday so that we can do debate reactions on Friday. Yeah. And we will do the rest of Gambler's Corner then, but I'll tweet out our picks. Chris, you let us know what they are. All right. On to serious or satire. Serious or satire. All right, Chris, I got 3 headlines. You tell me which one is true and which 2 are fake. So we're going to go, what is this? 1 truth and 2 lies or something?
2 truths and a lie?
2 truths and a lie. All right, so that's what we got. 2 truths and a lie. That's going to be our new, for this week's serious or satire way of doing it. All right. Carol Baskin comes out as bisexual. Jussie Smollett offered job at CNN. And Dunkin' Donuts has a new ghost pepper donut.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say the Carol Baskins one is satire.
Carol Baskin one is true.
Oh, yuck.
She said she could have just as easily had a wife as a husband. She probably would have killed either one. Dunkin' Donuts does have a new ghost pepper donut.
That sounds terrible.
I love that they're doing it, though. I think that's a nice marketing strategy.
God, I actually believe Jussie Smollett was offered a job. I really did. I mean,
that would have been awesome if Jussie Smollett
I was thinking the donut or Carol. I just did not even question Jussie Smollett as a CNN guy. I didn't.
Just so we're not spreading misinformation, that was satire. Jussie Smollett has not been offered a job at CNN yet.
Good one.
Not yet.
Nice work.
All right. So on to Prognostication Station. We are 2 weeks out from the presidential election. You wanted to talk a little bit about, you had said you've looked at polls and stuff like that. I think we need to start prognosticating the actual election. But before we do, my question to you, how many more times will Trump be muted than Biden in this election?
Oh, in this debate, you mean?
In this debate.
Ooh, I'm going to go with like a percentage more. I'm going to probably say 25% more than Biden.
25% more. I'm going to say it is 2 to 1.
I mean, it could be 50-50 where they just mute each other equally and like they don't even give a chance to interrupt period for either. So no. I'm going 25% more. Never mind.
So Biden's going to be muted 4 times and Trump would a 5th.
Actually, you know what?
I'm going with a 2 to 1 ratio.
No, I'm going 25% more. Yeah, that's it. Because I think the format's going to lend itself to they're just going to standard mute somebody during their first section, and then they're going to let them bicker first section of it and just let them do that. I think that's going to happen. We'll see.
We'll see. I think it's going to be. I think come Friday when you and I are and Sean are doing the next podcast, I think that'll be the biggest talk. Is going to be the muting that happened or didn't happen. I think Trump bringing up Hunter Biden is going to be a huge topic. And I think who gets muted and when is going to be a massive topic. And I think sadly, it's going to distract from the actual, what these two candidates stand for. So, all right. So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming election. And I know we could easily just say who's going to win. Who do you think? Prognosticate. We're 2 weeks out, and we're going to do this again next week. But prognosticate this election and why you feel that way.
Well, early voting should always favor Democrats. But right now in early voting, Trump is winning in Michigan, which is a terrifying thing for Democrats because conservatives come out in droves to vote in person. So I think you can already almost call Michigan like Trump's going to destroy it there. Pennsylvania voter registration numbers are much higher for Republicans than Democrats. The early voting does not show it well, but I think that it is so dangerous to say that you're a Trump supporter, to wear a MAGA hat, that there is a silent majority of people that do not want to say they're voting for Trump. They're afraid of what might happen to them. I think they literally think if a pollster is calling them and asking who they vote for, that they could get targeted somehow by somebody. I think that Trump is going to win, and I think he's going to win in an electoral college landslide. I think he will still probably lose the popular vote, but I think he will win in an electoral college landslide.
I think what we will see, I think one of the interesting things that we're going to see is I think we're going to see the Hispanic vote is going to be a massive shift towards Trump. And I think you're going to see the same thing in the black vote. When I say massive, it doesn't mean Trump's going to get 90% of either of those. But I think what you'll see is a major increase from the last election. And I think those two things are going to dramatically propel Trump as well. And I agree, the electoral college, and partly because California, which is just so shockingly left by 40%, and they are the most populated state, but they only get you your 55 electorates. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be Trump, and I do think it's going to be a relative landslide. Here's the problem. I don't think we're going to know until December 1st at earliest. Even just came out, Pennsylvania is going to allow up to 3 days after the election day.
I don't agree. Because you can look at the amount of people that have registered for early voting and the amount of votes that have come in for early voting. And so much of that is already coming in for Democrats that I actually think the opposite. I think that you cannot claim the red mirage because most of those early mail-in votes will already be in for Democrats. And the giant margin that'll be left would just be Republican ones. I think they're going to be able to call it.
I'm just saying I have a feeling neither candidate is going to give it up until December 1st. I just think this is going to be so messy. And I think it's going to be on both parties. I think
they're going to be able to call it. I think it's going to be – I think Trump's going to have him dead to rights.
And he might, and it might just be an electoral college where it doesn't matter. The one or two states that are up in the air wouldn't make a difference, which would be cool to see. So, all right. So there's our prognostication, and we will discuss more of that next week. When we get into the actual, we'll be 1 week out from the actual election date. All right. So let's move on to our top 5. We went really general. We wanted to do some fun ones. We were thinking about top 5 Hunter Biden nicknames. But Crack Hunter and things like that. I don't know. We figured we'd go in a different direction. We'd go a little bit more tame with our top 5 foods, which is a pretty general topic. I think everyone can weigh in on this one. So top 5 foods, and we will go, I'll let you go first, Chris, and we'll just go back and forth. You start with actually, I'll go first.
Okay.
My number 5, because mine's better than yours. Salmon sashimi.
That's your number 5?
Well, it's
That could be higher for you, man.
No, I love salmon sashimi, but I don't know that I could eat it every single day. I wanted to go sushi, but it's like, well, then it'd be like, well, sushi, Italian food, American food.
Okay. Fair enough. I wasn't sure to go with, I kind of limited to things that I would actually buy, not necessarily buy all the time. I'm going to go with the Aussie cheese fries from Outback for my number 5, dipped in ranch.
Oh my gosh.
I know you got my back here.
Oh my gosh. I should have gone even deeper because my number 4 it's a very general, and I was going to see if we could expand on it. And I think you just did. My number 4 is French fries. I love French fries. And I was going to say, what's like the best? Yes, the Aussie. I mean, cheese fries in general, but then their ranch. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, delicious.
Holy crap! All right, so that was my number 4, French fries. What's yours?
I'm gonna call it the $22 steak. You know, you got those steak places that are like Outback. You know, that's got a $22 steak, Longhorn. You know, just kind of the we're not talking the $100 fillet, right? But like that $22 sirloin, like. I love the good value steak for my number 4.
Wow. You like the good value steak as your number 4.
Well, look, I love $100 steak. I just can't afford it. So I'm trying to like act within reason. Like I'm not, getting the truffle oil on it or anything like that,
All right. So then I'll take my number 3 and I'll move it a little more specific. I will go with the Chick-fil-A fried chicken sandwich. As much as I eat the grilled mostly for health reasons, the Chick-fil-A sandwich, the regular fried chicken sandwich, is remarkable.
Do you keep the pickle on or no?
It's awesome.
So you do like pickles?
Yes.
I did not know that. Okay. That kind of put me off when I first had that. So I've never liked the chicken sandwich because I always start with chicken nuggets and I'm like, I'll just have this on bread too. And then I had a pickle. I'm like, what the hell is this? I wasn't used to it. Number 3 for me is
you have to have Chick-fil-A sauce. Has to have Chick-fil-A sauce on it.
My number 3 is going to be the Burger King Whopper. Great burger. It's readily available everywhere. There are better burgers than that. Like In-N-Out, I think, has a better burger than that. It's just you're very limited in where you can get that. But the Burger King Whopper is that is an American cheeseburger.
All right. So my number 2, because I guess I can afford it and you can't. I'm going to go with a really good filet mignon steak.
But welfare's treating you right. Unemployment's. I got to get on that game plan, right?
Yeah, imagine taking your link card to Gibson's.
Okay, so I have to put pizza on here, but I have to define pizza because it's so broad. I do love a good pie, a good Chicago style deep dish pizza, sausage. It's got to have sausage on it. Chicago does great sausage on pizza. But a good deep dish, I'd probably say Lumolani's because I've had that the most, but Giordano's is really good too. But any decent deep dish in Chicago.
All right. So we should do a taste test because I think that there can be a big argument. Do you like Giordano's, Lumolani's, my favorite, Gino's East, or there's a lot, the Pizzeria Uno's and all the others out there. I'm a Gino's East guy.
They're all very good. There's no like, oh, that one sucks. It's like they're all different versions of great.
And in an effort to not match you with my number 1 being deep dish pizza, but it should have been on my list, and I'm really kind of pissed I forgot about it. Like I'm really kind of sad and mad at myself. I'm going to go with my general flavor. Anything with peanut butter. Just peanut butter, anything. I could pick a million. I know. Does that sound very Phelps-like?
No, I'm just like, you dogs and Hunter Biden both love looking peanut butter.
No, Jeffrey Cuban, CNN
Jeffrey Tuggan. Oh God.
All right.
Number 1 is going to be the Subway BMT, the bigger, meatier, tastier sandwich. It is something that I probably eat more often than anything. It's not the best sandwich in the world, but I know exactly what I'm getting with it, and I know exactly what I like on it, and it tastes the same every time. I got to have it. The Subway BMT, fantastic sandwich, number 1, hands down.
I'm shocked.
Right now. I'm on right now.
I'm shocked because Subway does not rank even on my top 30 fast food restaurants.
You have poor taste, that's why.
Maybe. All right. So thank you for joining us here on October 20th. This was episode 19. And we will have episode 20 on Friday. That is when we are going to be doing all of the debate reaction from the debate on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Please do me a favor, follow us on Twitter at NotSoSilentPod. On Thursday night, you can be commenting back and forth. I will be posting, and Chris will be posting a bunch of stuff about the debates and our quick reaction then, and then we're going to talk about it all on Friday. So at NotSoSilentPod or Facebook.com/NotSoSilentPod, or go to our website, NotSoSilent.com, and sign up for our newsletter. So that's it. Goodbye.
It doesn't like it when you keep coming around here and turning him down.
Oh, top 5 names Hunter. Top 5 last names Hunter should change to deflect from having association with Joe. You can include middle names as well. Hunter of
Trump.
hookers and money for not working. It's French, you know.
Hunter Trump.